Magyanatimirandasya Gyananjalashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Karama Yam Dadati Sva Parantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Utaparakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitamtam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahaganavanta Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So we'll continue with the reading from Bhagavad-gīta as it is from His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, founder-ācārya of International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And last time we started chapter 1 with its first shloka, so today we'll continue shlokas 2 to 11. How Duryodhana is trying to consolidate his army. Sanjaya Uvacha Drishtva tu Pandavanikam Vyudham Duryodhanastada Acharyam Upasangamya Raja Vachanam Abravit. Sanjaya Uvacha, Sanjaya said, Drishtva, after seeing two Pandava Anikam, the soldiers of the Pandavas, Vyudham, arranged in the military phalanx. Duryodhana, King Duryodhana, Tada, at the time Acharyam, the teacher, Upasangamya, approaching Raja, the king, Vachanam, words Abravit spoke. Sanjaya said, O king, after looking over the army arranged in military formation by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhana went to his teacher and spoke the following words. Purport. Dhritarashtra was blind from birth. Unfortunately, he was also bereft of spiritual vision. He knew very well that his sons were equally blind in the matter of religion, and he was sure that they could never reach an understanding with the Pandavas, who were all pious since birth. Still, he was doubtful about the influence of the place of pilgrimage, and Sanjaya could understand his motive in asking about the situation on the battlefield. Sanjaya wanted, therefore, to encourage the despondent king and thus assured him that his sons were not going to make any sort of compromise under the influence of the holy place. Sanjaya therefore informed the king that his son Duryodhana, after seeing the military force of the Pandavas, at once went to the commander-in-chief Dronacharya to inform him of the real position. Although Duryodhana is mentioned as the king, he still had to go to the commander on account of the seriousness of the situation. He was therefore quite fit to be a politician, but Duryodhana's diplomatic veneer could not disguise the fear he felt when he saw the military arrangement of the Pandavas. So last time Dhritarashtra was asking what the Pandavas are doing or what the armies are doing on the battlefield, and it clearly exposed his doubts about the outcome of the war, whether either of the party would give up or not because of the influence of the place of pilgrimage. So here we are continuing in the same mood, and Sanjaya is trying to give some assurance to the king that they will not give up, they will not compromise. And also the second part speaks about the Duryodhana, who was a politician. politician as it should be, basically, because we will see in later verses that we could name this section literally about politics. So what Duryodhana was doing in this part. 3. Pasyaitam panduputranam ācārya mahatim chamum vyudham drupada putrena tava shishyena dhimata. Pashya, behold, etam, this Panduputranam, of the sons of Pandu, Acharya, or teacher, Mahatim, great, Chamum, military force, Vyudham, arranged, Drupada Putrena, by the son of Drupada, Tava, your Shishyena, disciple, Dhimata, very intelligent. Translation: O my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupada. Purport: Duryodhana, a great diplomat, wanted to point out the defects of Dronacharya, the great Brahmana commander-in-chief. Dronacharya had some political quarrel with King Drupada, the father of Draupadi, who was Arjuna's wife. As a result of this quarrel, Drupada performed a great sacrifice by which he received the benediction of having a son who would be able to kill Dronacharya. Dronacharya knew this perfectly well, and yet, as a liberal Brahmana, he did not hesitate to impart all his military secrets when the son of Drupada, Drishtadyumna, was entrusted to him for military education. Now, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Drishtadyumna took the side of the Pandavas, and it was he who arranged for their military phalanx after having learned the art from Dronacharya. Duryodhana pointed out this mistake of Dronacharya's so that he might be alert and uncompromising in the fighting. By this he wanted to point out that also he should not be similarly lenient in battle against the Pandavas, who were also Dronacharya's affectionate students. Arjuna especially was his most affectionate and brilliant student. Duryodhana also warned that such leniency in the fight would lead to defeat. So what happened here is that first political move of Duryodhana was to point out to his teacher that he trained someone who will ultimately fight against himself. So because Dronacharya was a Brahmana, so for him, his duty is to impart education. Whoever comes to him, he doesn't distinguish. If he has good attitude, so he's giving the knowledge. He's not doing any politics or anything like that. This is like how Brahmanas are working. But in Duryodhana's eyes, this was a mistake because Dronacharya was on the side of Kurus and he trained the fighters on the Pandava side. So he's kind of indirectly indicating to Dronacharya that he made this mistake. And not only Drishtadyumna, but also yes, other Pandavas like Arjuna also was his student. Shloka 4. Atra shura maheshvasa bhimarjuna samayudhi yudhanu viratascha drupadascha maharataha. Atra here shuraha, heroes, mahaishu, asaha, mighty bowmen, Bhima Arjuna, to Bhima and Arjuna, Samaha, equal, Yudhi, in the fight, Yudhana, Yudhana, Virataha, Virata, Cha also, Drupadaha, Drupada, Cha also, Maharataha, great fighter. Translation: here in this army are many heroic bowmen equal to fighting to Bhima and Arjuna, great fighters like Yudhana, Virata, and Drupada. Purport: even though Drishtadyumna was not a very important obstacle in the face of Dronacharya's very great power in the military art, there were many others who were causes of fear. They are mentioned by Duryodhana as great stumbling blocks on the path of victory, because each and every one of them was as formidable as Bhima and Arjuna. He knew the strength of Bhima and Arjuna, and thus he compared the others with them. Shloka 5. Drishtaketuscha Kitana Kashirajascha Viryavan Purujit Kuntibhojascha Shaibhyascha Narapungavaha. Drishtaketu Chekitana Kashiraja cha also Viryavan, very powerful. Purujit Kuntibhoja cha and Shaibhya cha and Narapungavaha, hero in human society. There are also great heroic, powerful fighters like Drishtaketu, Chekitana, Kashiraja, Purujit, Kuntibhoja, and Shaibhya. Shloka 6. Yudhamanyuscha Vikranta Uttamojascha Viryavan Sobhadro Dropadeyascha Sarva Eva Maharataha. Yudhamanyu cha and Vikranta mighty, Uttamoja cha and Viryavan very powerful, Sobhadraha the son of Subhadra, Dropadeyaha the sons of Draupadi, cha and Sarve all Eva certainly Maharataha great chariot fighters. Translation. There are the mighty Yudhamanyu, the very powerful, Uttamoja, the son of Subhadra, and the sons of Draupadi. All these warriors are great chariot fighters. 7. Asmakam tu vishishtaye tani bodha dvijotama nayaka mama sainyasya samgyartam tan bravimite. Asmakam our two, but vishishtaha especially powerful. Yehu, tandem, nibodha, just take note of, be informed. Dvija Uttama, O best of the Brahmanas. Nayakaha, captains, mama, my. Sainyasya, of the soldiers. Samgya artam, for information. Tandem, bravimi, I'm speaking te to you. But for your information, O best of the Brahmanas, let me tell you about the captains who are especially qualified to lead my military force. 8. Bhavan Bhishmascha Karnascha Kripascha Samitim Jayaha Ashvatama Vikarnascha Somadatis Tataivacha. Bhavan, your good self, Bhishmaha, grandfather Bhishma, cha also Karnaha, Karna, cha and Kripaha, Kripa, cha and Samitim Jayaha, always victorious in battle, Ashvatama, Ashvatama, Vikarnaha, Vikarna, cha as well as Somadatihi, the son of Somadatta, Tata as well as Eva, certainly, cha also. Translation. There are personalities like you, Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, Ashvatama, Vikarna, and the son of Somadatta called Bhurishrava, who are always victorious in battle. Purport. Duryodhana mentions the exceptional heroes in the battle, all of whom are ever victorious. Vikarna is the brother of Duryodhana, Ashvatama is the son of Dronacharya, and Somadati or Bhurishrava is the son of the king of the Bahlikas. Karna is the half-brother of Arjuna, as he was born of Kunti before her marriage with King Pandu. Kripacharya, twin sister, married Dronacharya. So here in this sequence is mentioning first Dronacharya, Bhavan, your good self. And then he's mentioning Bhishma. Although Bhishma is much senior to Dronacharya, but because Dronacharya is a Brahmana and Bhishma is Kshatriya, so he's mentioning him as in the first place. And even Bhishma knows like the position of Brahmanas and Kshatriya, so he doesn't feel offended in any way. So this is again what politicians do, how to appease some personality, to put him in the first place, and in such a very, very, to say, sophisticated way that even it is matching some etiquette or, you know. Anyecha bhavak shura matarte tyakta jivitaha nana shastra praharanah sarve yudra visharadaha. Anye others cha also bahavaha in great numbers, shuraha heroes, matarte for my sake, tyakta jivitaha prepared to risk life, nana many, shastra weapons, praharanaha equipped with, sarve all of them, yudha visharadaha experience in military science. Translation: there are many other heroes who are prepared to lay down their lives for my sake. All of them are well equipped with different kinds of weapons, and all are experienced in military science. Purport: as far as the others are concerned, like Jayadratha, Kritavarma, and Shalya, all are determined to lay down their lives for Duryodhana's sake. In other words, it is already concluded that all of them would die in the battle of Kurukshetra for joining the party of the sinful Duryodhana. Duryodhana was, of course, confident of his victory on account of the above-mentioned combined strength of his friends. So, here are several points. It's very short purport, but first thing is that they are prepared to lay down their lives for my sake, he is saying. And this is also secondary indication that Krishna already decided to kill all those persons, all those fighters, because then he, in the 11th chapter, he will say to Arjuna that doesn't matter whether you join or you give up, they are already killed by myself. So you can be instrument or just do whatever you want. But this doesn't make any difference in their destiny. So this is also kind of secondary indication of this, that they will die anyway. Another thing about this, that Duryodhana, for his own sake, for his selfish interest, he is not hesitating even to sacrifice the lives of other people. This is another, another way how, if we apply simply politics, what is the result? And in fact, I'll show something. We have 4 purusharthas, or sometimes it's mentioned 5 purusharthas, or purposes of human life, which are kama, sense gratification, artha, economic development, politics, diplomacy, ethics, social sphere, like that. Then dharma, which are prescribed duties. Moksha is liberation. And sometimes is mentioned bhakti also as the 5th purushartha, ultimate perfection of human life, or the purpose of human life. But usually we see only these 4 in general. So Duryodhana is basically aiming for kama and using artha, or politics and diplomacy, to get his goals. In fact, ideally, politics should be done in such a way that we are following dharma, what is right to do. And from this, we use politics, we use anything what is below this level, but as a tool, not as a goal. So this is how normally politics should be done. And if we are devotees, we go even from this level, from level of bhakti, and what is suitable to our devotional service. Then we take things from dharma, we can take things from artha, we can take even things from kama, and in this way to achieve the goals which are conducive for our spiritual advancement in loving devotional service. But as we see, Duryodhana is using just politics, diplomacy, and his goals are very selfish. So he is even able to sacrifice his fellows in this way. Yeah. And the third thing here is that it is already concluded that all of them would die in the battle of Kurukshetra for joining the party of the sinful Duryodhana. This is very significant, that if somebody joins or even supports or is on the side of someone who is very sinful, because Duryodhana basically did many deadly sins for which he would deserve to be killed, literally, because he tried to poison Pandavas, tried to burn their house, to kidnap their wife, and so on. So these are all these things which are quite heavy sins and deserve to be like immediately punished by killing the person. So anyone who joins such person, such sinful person, will also share reactions for joining him, or taking his party. And in this case, it will mean literally, because I think because of his offense to Draupadi as a devotee. Yes. So Krishna is not tolerating this, and this kind of offense is even worthy of annihilating the whole dynasty of the person who does this. So that's why it is written here that they will die because they joined Duryodhana. So we have to be very careful also who we are taking part, because then we can share also the karma of this person. Even if we say something about someone inappropriate, we are taking these karmas, and consciousness can be also influenced. Okay. Shloka 10. Aparyaptam tadasmakam balam bhishma birakshitam paryaptam tvidam balam bhima birakshitam. Aparyaptam, immeasurable, that asmakam, of ours, balam, strength, bhishma, by grandfather Bhishma, abhirakshitam, perfectly protected, paryaptam, limited to, but idam, all this, etesham, of the Pandavas, balam, strength, bhima, by Bhima, abhirakshitam, carefully protected. Translation. Our strength is immeasurable, and we are perfectly protected by grandfather Bhishma, whereas the strength of the Pandavas, carefully protected by Bhima, is limited. Purport. Herein an estimation of comparative strength is made by Duryodhana. He thinks then that the strength of his armed forces is immeasurable, being specifically protected by the most experienced general, grandfather Bhishma. On the other hand, the forces of the Pandavas are limited, being protected by a less experienced general Bhima, who is like a fig in the presence of Bhishma. Duryodhana was always envious of Bhima because he knew perfectly well that if he should die at all, he would only be killed by Bhima. But at the same time, he was confident of his victory on account of the presence of Bhishma, who was a far superior general. His conclusion that he would come out of the battle victorious was well ascertained. So now Duryodhana is trying to a little bit encourage Bhishma, saying that he is, the protector of the whole army. And here's something interesting here is in the wording, aparyaptam, or word immeasurable. There are more explanations to this. And one of them is, I think is from, Srila Baladeva Vidyabhushan, who makes commentary on Bhagavad-gītā, is translating the word aparyaptam as immeasurable, as we have here, because of Bhishma's protection. But Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur translates aparyaptam as insufficient. So, because of Bhishma's attachment to the Pandavas, because Bhishma is their grandfather. So he has some affection for the Pandavas, and because of this, there may be some leniency on his side also. So he might not be fully committed because of some affection for the Pandavas. And in this way, he is saying that we shouldn't, or we are not so very much, we cannot very much depend on Bhishma. So then Drona is also our support because of that. So he's encouraging Bhishma and Drona at the same time. Like saying that is immeasurable because of Bhishma, and at the same time insufficient because of Bhishma's affection, and therefore Drona is the great support also, because he doesn't have this, or might not have this affection. So text 11. Ayaneshu cha sarveshu yata bhagam avastitaha bhishmam eva birakshantu bhavantak sarva eva hi. Ayaneshu, in the strategic points, cha also sarveshu, everywhere, yatha bhagam, as differently arranged, avastitaha, situated, bhishmam, unto grandfather Bhishma, eva, certainly, abhirakshantu, should give support, bhavantaha, you, sarve, all respectively, eva hi, certainly. Translation: all of you must now give full support to grandfather Bhishma as you stand at your respective strategic points of entrance into the phalanx of the army. Purport: Duryodhana, after praising the prowess of Bhishma, further considered that others might think that they had been considered less important. So in his usual diplomatic way, he tried to adjust the situation in the above words. He emphasized that Bhishma Deva was undoubtedly the greatest hero, but he was an old man, so everyone must especially think of his protection from all sides. He might become engaged in the fight, and the enemy might take advantage of his full engagement on one side. Therefore, it was important that other heroes not leave their strategic positions and allow the enemy to break the phalanx. Duryodhana clearly felt that the victory of the Kurus depended on the presence of Bhishma Deva. He was confident of the full support of Bhishma Deva and Dronacharya in the battle, because he well knew that they did not even speak a word when Arjuna's wife Draupadi, in her helpless condition, had appealed to them for justice, while she was being forced to appear naked in the presence of all the great generals in the assembly. Although he knew that the two generals had some sort of affection for the Pandavas, he hoped that these generals would now completely give it up, as they had done during the gambling performances. So, and now is the basically summit of Duryodhana's political moves, because apart from encouraging Drona and praising Drona, encouraging Bhishma, he is also now encouraging the rest of the army. He's saying that Bhishma is like, he's a very powerful fighter, but at the same time, he's an old man, so he might need support of the rest of the army. So he is protected from all sides also. So in this way, he praised also his other soldiers or heroes who were there. So we see now how expert Duryodhana was in diplomacy. But unfortunately, he is using this diplomacy for the selfish purpose. So if we can use this diplomacy, or that, expertise in diplomacy for Krishna's sake, it would be very nice. Because even diplomacy, if somebody is engaged in administration, that is the part of the duties to use diplomacy also. So, but we should use it in first thing with the good motivation. The second thing also expertly, because if we want to engage it in Krishna service, we also should be experts in whatever we do. And the best way is to follow how it is defined in the scriptures, in the Shastra, because diplomacy, ethics, all these things are defined there in Artha Shastra, in Dharma Shastra. So we can use these resources let's say from Chanakya Pandit, or Manu Samhita also describes many things about the administration. Basically, administration and Grihastha Ashram are the biggest parts of of Manu Samhita, because they are also most complex, or most complex fields. In fact, Grihastha Ashram is kind of smaller politics, or smaller administration, and so, and second thing here is that because Bhishma Deva and Dronacharya did not say anything when Draupadi was insulted, so Duryodhana, of course, was thinking that they will also support him in this fighting. So he was quite confident also on their support, about their support, because of this. Okay, so that's it for today. Next time we will continue with the signs of victory, verses, Shlokas. Shlokas 12 to 20, signs of victory for Pandavas. Thank you. Hare Krishna.